If you're still one of those who think that subjects like anatomy, physiology, biochemistry are important for INICET, preclinicals are important, you're wrong. And in this episode, using statistics, using evidence, I'll prove that these are not the most important subjects for INICET. It is something else. Welcome to Statistical Approach to NEET INICET May 2026. Hi, I'm Dr. RMD. I am NEET PG strategist. I make strategies since last 2.5 years, and I'm very well known in NEET PG community for making statistical approaches and strategies. So first thing is, if you go through last 8 papers of INICET, I have compiled all 8 papers data based on number of questions that are asked each year, and this is the total number of questions that are being asked. You will notice a striking difference in this. Many people are lying to you, telling that preclinicals and paraclinicals are important, but this is not the case, and I'm going to prove you with the help of this bar diagram. See here, which is the most important. You just tell me in last 8 years paper. See, this is when INICET started. November 2020 INI was the first INI, and since then, over the last 8 papers, that is last 4 years, have you even noticed the pattern of papers, or do you just preach telling that preclinicals and paraclinicals are important? Have you even verified this on personal basis? See here, patho, micro, pharmac are important, no doubt in that. But what is more important than that? See here, these 3 subjects, medicine, surgery, OBG. Yes, if you ask me which 3 subjects have crossed 150 questions in total over last 8 years in INICET, 150 questions. That means 150 questions out of 8 papers. That means it has very high probability that these 6 papers, not even 6, these 5 papers itself will have more than 50% of the questions. These 5 papers, not even 6. So you'll get, are you getting my point? So it's not preclinicals that is important, it is paraclinicals along with clinical subjects. And because of this, in INICET, many students actually don't study clinical subjects thinking that pre and paraclinicals are important. It is not. It is paraclinicals along with clinical subject that is important. This is one trend. Also note which are the other few subjects which are important. See here, the subjects which are crossed are nearly crossing 100 score, that is total 100 questions. That is anatomy, physiology and biochemistry, out of which biochemistry is least important. Also PSM, and then you have forensic and pediatrics, which are close to 100. So if you ask me which are the 12 most important subjects, they are the paraclinicals along with clinicals, and then you have PSM, pediatrics, forensic, remember forensic, biochem, and you have pediatrics. Got my point? So this is totally different, because everyone has been telling you that preclinicals is important, paraclinicals is important, clinical is not important at all. And if you see total representation, these clinical subjects have as equal representation as pre and paraclinical subjects. So if you take the entire total list and arrange it in descending order, this is what I got. Patho and medicine are definitely the most important ones, no doubt. But after that, what comes? After that comes surgery. Then you have OBG. So these 3 clinical subjects are in the top list. That's why don't ignore clinical subjects for INICET. Point number 1. Second is, you will notice that anatomy, physio are important, but then biochem is less important than PSM in terms of weightage. Forensic is more important than pediatrics. Remember, forensic has more number of questions in INICET than pediatrics. So getting the importance, forensic is one subject which you will neglect for INICET, but in forensic, more number of questions are being asked. Also see this pie chart diagram. So here you will see that patho, medicine, surgery, pharmac, OBG, and micro, these 6 subjects itself constitute 50% of the total questions that are asked. That means out of 200 questions in INICET, 100 questions will come. I repeat it again, 100 questions will come from these 6 subjects only. It is not from anatomy, physio and biochem. It is from surgery, OBG, medicine, along with pathosurgery and micro. And you see the representation of preclinicals, it is very small representation. Got my point? That's why I repeatedly say paraclinical along with clinical is the most important. This trend has been there since last 4 years, and I don't know why you people still follow preclinical plus paraclinical for INICET. This is the biggest negative trend that I see in students. Now, if you see first 2 years, that is old trend versus new trend. New trend means in the last 2 years versus between 2020 to 2022. What do you notice? There is one basic pattern that is observed. One is there is a major increase, massive increase in 2 subjects. One of them is a subject which you can actually finish in lesser duration of time, and that is pediatrics. See, pediatrics, once upon a time only 5 questions were asked, but nowadays in every exam around 10 questions are being asked on an average. So pediatrics and medicine, these both have massive increase, and there is major decrease in one subject, that is anesthesia, and one more is in OBG. But again, when you say total number of OBG questions, they are higher compared to rest of the subject. That's why you can't neglect OBG. But yes, anesthesia and then psychiatry, these subjects you can actually neglect, but pediatrics and medicine are still the ones which have highest increase in number of questions since past 2 years. So definitely pediatrics should be one option in your mind from which you can actually easily score. It is a very high yielding topic. Now, so what do we conclude from these statistics? We can divide subjects into three categories. Yes, three categories. So first one is the 6 universal subjects. That means no matter what, these 6 subjects should be at the tip of your tongue. These 6 subjects, you should be mastering them, or else you're out of the INICET race, because 100 questions come from just these 6 topics. No doubt in that. Second, there are tier 2 subjects, out of which pediatrics is the most important. It is not anatomy, it is not biochemistry, it is not physiology, it is pediatrics which is most important. Okay, so pediatrics always comes first. Next, there are tier 3 subjects, which are rest of the subjects, out of which anesthesia has least importance. Got my point? So these things should be clear. Unless you know these facts, you are not going to crack INICET. Now, in current situation, there are 3 types of students. So one students are those who are currently scoring GT scores of more than 130 correct. That means by the end of May 15th, they will be getting around 150 correct. So these are the students who have highest probability of cracking INICET, and these are category A students for whom I will have a separate strategy. And then we have category B students who have prepared decently but not enough to get within INI. Say, what is INI? INI is a do or die game, because if you get less than 1000 rank, okay, you are good, or else you are nowhere. Okay, so you can give a try, but it depends on your functional base, how much base strong you have, and how much confidence you have to give INI. And third category, we have people who are just aiming for NEET and will give INICET just as a practice test. So this is basically the timeline that I want you to follow. So from today onwards, you will have exactly 2 months. So this is last 2 months strategy. So those students who are coming under category A, they will be following this schedule. They will be having their first revision or maybe second revision for INICET till April 30. Now why April 30? Because we want exact 45 days so that it doesn't hamper your NEET PG preparation. The problem with giving multiple revisions during this phase is that you won't be getting enough time to complete each subject, and then your NEET PG preparation will also be dwindling. Okay, so that's why we'll give total for 50 days for this preparation, followed by last 10 days for final revision. And what exactly to study in those last 10 days, I'll be telling you in detail. So those people who are in category A, they'll have to divide their syllabus like this. Okay, in this first 40 days and next 10 days. Okay, in 40 days, you'll give 8 days each for this combination. That is patho, physio, pharmac, biochem, surgery, anat, OBG, peds, and micromedicine. So now what you will do is, patho, if you give like out of 8 days, you will be giving 5 days. Then physio, you will be giving 3 days. Similarly here also 5, 3, 5, 3, 5. This is based on the weightage percentage, and it is not some random thing that I have got you. Okay, and here for PSN, you will be giving 4 days, and forensic you will be giving 2 days. Okay, rest of the subject, however you want, you can divide it, and basically you will be giving like 2 hours for anesthesia, 2 hours for radio, because it doesn't deserve more than that. Okay, so now what to do in the final revision, last 10 days, that I will be telling you in a short while. So what is very important is, there are few strategic differences. There are basic exam paper pattern differences between INICET and NEET PG. INICET paper is not the same as NEET PG. Though we say that on a superficial basis that INICET PY is repeat, it doesn't repeat as frequently that you think so. Okay, there are some INICET specific topics, and there are some NEET PG specific topics, and only a trained person will be able to differentiate them. A student who is studying for the first time won't be able to differentiate them. So what about those students, category B and category C students, who actually want to give a good attempt at INICET? Because if you get a bad rank in INICET, what will happen? This is what students told me, that you will be getting a sort of self-doubt. You will be getting a sort of negative confidence. Okay, your self-esteem will be lowered because you are not getting a good rank in INICET. Then that will actually affect your revision part in NEET PG. So those who are attending INICET, my suggestion is that you should be prepared well enough so that you can answer common questions, but you shouldn't be so much into preparation that you are compromising your NEET PG preparation for INICET. So both these things will matter. So there is a fine balance. So what I felt was, if you can actually, those category B and category C students, including category A, last 10 days for final revision are the most important, nothing else. Okay, it is always your revision that matters. Now the best resource, if you ask me, for final 10 days is first aid. But what will happen if you start with first aid? You wouldn't have revised it earlier, and it will become difficult for you, and it will also not have some topics like PSM is not there, clinical subjects are not there. Okay, there are many subjects which are not left out, which are actually left out. So first aid is a good source for pre and paraclinical, but not for clinical subjects. So whichever source you are using for last 10 days, the final revision, it must be very concise so that you can complete everything at least twice. It should be also revisable at least 3 times if you start from May 1. Also, it must have all high yield previous year topics only. It should be easy to memorize, and it should be very trustworthy. It shouldn't be like some random fact is given and you are memorizing that. No, it should contain high yield information only, and it should be revisable. So what is the solution for this? So when I was thinking like students want actually such a source which can actually give all this, and there is no such source that is available. Now you will tell me, sir, I'll read BTR or I'll read some rapid revision. If I do one more revision, it's okay, no? So what will happen is all these sources have one limitation, that is even though they are revisable, they are not high yield concise things, okay? So that's why I had to come up with something which consists of all high yield topics at one place, which you can actually read for the first time in last 7 days and still you can understand and retain it. So I had come up with something known as checklist. So last time I had released a checklist. It was basically word based, okay? Then I got review that you have to add images. Only when you add images will be able to remember things. So I made it sure that this time you have visual mnemonics also. So in this INICET checklist, what all things you are getting is you will get final 48-hour action plan, which means just 2 days before INICET what all things you should do, okay? So that is first written here. Then you will have everything like how to start your morning on the day of INICET, what are the things that you need to do inside the exam hall, how to face questions, okay? What are the things that you need to take to go for exam hall, okay? And there is a FAQ list also, like regarding INICET exams, what all things you need to do, everything is there in this, okay? Now after this we have a subject wise division of topics, okay? So here basically for example, patho, okay? Patho is the most important topic under INICET. So we have given patho first. So under patho you will have around how much? There are some around 10 pages, okay? 10 pages and around 20 topics that you have, okay? Under pathology. So these are very high yield topics only. For example, you see Prader-Willi syndrome is always asked in INICET. A very important question. Types of classification always asked. What you have to do is just go through these things, underline this and go through the images and understand it. That's it, nothing else, okay? Similarly, G6PD deficiency, very common question, okay? Similarly, you see thromboelastography, very commonly asked topic in INICET but not in NEET-PG, and here you have diagram of everything, okay? Similarly, let's say Langerhans cells histocytosis, LCH. So which molecules are involved, which like molecular markers are involved in this, okay? What are the markers of this, everything, what are the symptoms, what is the pathogenesis, everything, okay? Everything whatever is required that will be asked in exam are there, okay? So the total PDF, okay? So once we finish patho, we are going into medicine. So this is medicine, basically starting with cardiac component, very important question. SLE, most important questions. Then you have headache, which is asked. Then you have ABG analysis, exactly how to do, go ahead with ABG analysis, okay? Next, tension pneumothorax, very commonly asked. Then acute kidney injury, what all you should know, okay? Anti-epileptic drugs, heart failure. So everything whatever is required, like for example central quantum like myelinolysis. So what are the things that will come in the exam and exact point, like for example neurological worsening occurs after 2 to 6 days. Everything is condensed in the form of visual mnemonics and content, everything is given, okay? You can even see multifocal atrial tachycardia, how to differentiate multifocal atrial tachycardia, what is ERVD, okay? How to differentiate pheochromocytoma from other conditions, what is ankylosing spondylitis. So all these things, okay? With different type of ANA patterns are seen in which diseases, about COPD, JVP, how to differentiate different signs of JVP, what does each say. I don't think there is any other resource which is so much oriented towards INICET which you can actually finish. Now if you ask me what is the total number of pages, total number of pages is 219 pages. So initially if you cut out initial introduction part and all, you will have around 210 pages, and in these 210 pages you have all information. And remember, when I say you 210 pages, it is not that difficult to finish, because one page you can actually finish in 10 minutes, okay? It is not difficult. One page you can finish in 10 minutes. If you sit for 10 hours per day, you can finish in last 10 days, okay? You can finish this whole PDF in 5 days. Believe me, one page 10 minutes, like that means in 1 hour you will be able to cover 5 pages. If you sit for 10 minutes in per day, you will be able to cover 50 pages, and there are total 200 pages, which means you will cover in 4 days. And in last 10 days you can actually give 2 revisions. Remember, you can give 2 revisions even though you haven't studied anything for INICET, and still your INICET can be very good. For example, you see here like radiology topics, CT scan, what are the features, like how to differentiate between various CT scans, consolidation, how to you differentiate, okay? Neurocytocercosis, how do you identify what are the different stages. So these are like radio topics, okay? And this is like anesthesia topic, where you find capnography, where you have depression, different things that are used, okay? Ketamine, very important, mania, alcohol withdrawal. So all these are very high yield topics of INICET only. We haven't even considered NEET-PG for this, because for NEET-PG we'll be making a separate checklist, and based on your feedback we'll be seeing that, okay? So if you are a student who has not prepared specifically for INICET, or you're a student who doesn't know what to read in last 10 days for INICET, and if you're following a source which is actually doesn't give you much in return in output for INICET, then definitely you should go for this source, because there is no other source available in the market which can actually help you crack INICET with some good scores, so that it can boost your confidence when preparing for revision for NEET-PG. Okay, so Now we'll be asking the most important question, okay? That is, how much does this cost? Okay, how much does this cost? Now you'll be like, okay, it might cost 1,599 because it is such a good PDF. Okay, no, it is not 1,599. You might think, okay, maybe 999 because close to 1,000, close to 4 digits. No, it is not 999. Now you'll think that it is, yes, at least this person, he is always business minded and he'll charge at least 499. No, it is not 499. The actual cost is less than a pizza that you had ordered this afternoon. It is just 249. Just 249, and your entire INICET preparation can get a final turn, a final twist in last 10 days. Remember, just 249. So if you are really concerned about your INICET preparation, I don't have to tell you anything. I have given you entire strategy, what you should do, what you should follow. For final revision, just use a source which you can actually revise in last 10 days 2 times. 2 times you should be able to revise in this last 10 days. If you don't have a source, I have given a source. I have already addressed the problem that might occur. I have given the solution before the problem arrives. You can thank me later. If you have any suggestions regarding this, there is a sample copy of same PDF. Okay, same PDF. There is a sample copy in the comment section, in the print section. You'll get the link. Go to that PDF, sample PDF. It will have some 10-12 pages. You go through it. If you are happy with it, you can leave us feedback in the comment section, because that feedback will be utilized for making a similar NEET PG checklist, which you can actually study in last 10 days for NEET PG also. Okay, so this checklist cannot be used for NEET PG because this has only INICET specific topics. I repeat it again. So all the best for INICET. For last 10 days, I'll be releasing one more video for INICET strategy. Now, I had also got many requests from FMGE students for making strategy for FMGE. I haven't touched FMGE strategy so far, so I'm planning to go in that direction. So all the best.